I want to start with a confession. I don't know exactly when this question first entered my mind, but I know that it's followed me for a while, for years. Not because I'm a nutritionist and not because I've spent so many hours just reading research papers and books about metabolism and autoimmune disease, and not because I just love health, but because I wanted my life back. More than 20 years ago, I sat in a neurologist's office and I was told I had multiple sclerosis. I was 20, 21 years old and I had a baby. I had plans and dreams and expectations for my future. And suddenly I was being encouraged to prepare for disability, not because the doctor wanted to scare me, but because she believed that she was telling me the truth, showed me the MRI and explained the lesions in my brain and upper spine, and then talked about progression, that I was currently dealing with relapsing, remitting, but that secondary progressive was likely very near. And we talked about progression that obviously comes with secondary progressive and wheelchairs and the cognitive decline and planning ahead, preparing my family. And from that day forward, I started asking a question over and over again. What allows a body to heal? Not perfectly, not meticulously, not instantly, but just what creates the conditions for the body to function in the way that God designed it to function. Because I was looking at a prognosis and a future and being told that, once the damage is there, it's there. And there's not really a lot of recovery or coming back with multiple sclerosis once you reach secondary progressive. So the question of, what does create the conditions for the body to heal really hit me in the soul and in the heart. How did God design us? And that question really did change my life. It sent me down thousands of rabbit holes. Nutrition and gut health and stress and sleep and sunlight and movement and supplements and just trying to figure out inflammation and breathing and prayer and community and eventually fasting. Not because someone promised it as a cure, and not because I was trying to lose weight, and not because I hate food. Of course not. I like food. I enjoy it as much as the next person. If you've ever been to my house, you've probably been handed a piece of homemade bread before you even sat down, because food brings families together and food helps us celebrate birthdays and it brings us comfort at funerals, and food, it really does just fill our kitchens with memories. It's one of God's beautiful gifts, in my opinion. And it's exactly why this conversation is not going to be around fearing food. It's about remembering something that I think a lot of us have forgotten. I've been guilty of it. And just the importance of creating space. Have you ever noticed how almost everything God created moves in rhythms? Like morning and evening, summer and winter, high tide and low tide, work and Sabbath, breathing in, breathing out. Even your heart contracts and then rests before the next beat. And creation itself seems to live by cycles. Nothing really works at maximum capacity every second of every day. Like, think about it. Fields rest, trees go dormant, muscles have to recover, and the brain sleeps. It has to. Yet, somewhere along the way, I feel like we've decided that the human digestive system should never stop working. That, like, it's a problem if it does. right? Think about it. Wake up, eat, snack, coffee, snack, lunch, dinner, dessert, late night popcorn. Oh, and if we wake up at 2 in the morning, maybe another snack? I mean, maybe. We carry protein bars in our purses and crackers in our cars and energy, like drinks and just emergency snacks in our children's backpacks. We're always prepared to eat. And we've just accepted this idea that feeling hungry means something's wrong. But when did that happen? Like, when did a growling stomach just become an emergency instead of simply information? I'm not talking about starvation. Like, starvation is involuntary, starvation's dangerous, and starvation is suffering. I'm talking about ordinary hunger, like that feeling that almost every generation before us experienced every single day, like it was normal and expected. I think what happened for me, like as I'm doing this video, I'm realizing and remembering a time when I was pregnant and I learned that if I got hungry at all, I would get really nauseous and be very sick and throw up. And nobody wants to throw up, right? Of course not. That'd be silly. So while pregnant, I discovered that as long as I always had something to eat, like didn't go more than, you know, a couple hours without eating, I wouldn't get nauseous. I wouldn't get sick. And I developed this habit of just eat, eat, eat. And I was eating all the time to not get nauseous and ended up gaining an unhealthy amount of weight, like more than needed while pregnant. And so I developed this fear that hunger means sick because if I get any kind of hungry, I'm going to be nauseous. Now, sometimes I imagine, you know, if we took somebody from a culture like 2000 years ago and emerged them in ours and told them that now you'll be expected to eat every 60 to 90 minutes, every waking hour for the rest of your life, and you should never even feel hunger again because like, it would just be crazy. Right? But I told myself that while pregnant that I'm just not eating enough and I need to eat more because it did get rid of the nausea. So, leaving that aside, but pulling from the example of 2000 years ago, think about it. If you had somebody walk into a grocery store, fresh strawberries in December and ice cream and oh my gosh, 20 different flavors. 20. Who am I kidding? It's probably like 200. And bread from every culture imaginable all in one place, an entire aisle dedicated just to chips. And then another just to cookies, and another one just for cereal, and another one just for drinks that have flavor and sweetness added to them. Like food from every corner of the world available pretty much 24 hours a day. And I think that they would be shocked and amazed. And honestly, so am I. It's crazy. Think about it. The health, innovation, and food availability is just incredible. Like, think about how we're able to maintain our health and our body weight and the amount of food that we need really without too much struggle. I know that there is still people and places dealing with hunger. All right. So I'm not trying to diminish that, but I am talking about the average person in the average community in 2026, right? Most people have access to food. And the abundance is really a blessing. It really is because we have a lot of people on this planet, but most people have food. And for thousands of years, people prayed for enough food. I mean, today, many of us live, though, surrounded by more food than our ancestors could have even imagined being possible. And yet, something doesn't seem right because while food has become more available than ever before, it really is, chronic disease has also risen right alongside it. autoimmune disease skyrocketing, metabolic dysfunction, and insulin resistance. Oh, it's so sad. It is everywhere. Fatty liver disease is on the rise, and there's a lot of causes for it. It's not just alcohol. There are so many different contributing factors to that. There is chronic inflammation and anxiety and exhaustion and people who are overfed but very undernourished, always eating and always searching and always consuming because they're feeling hungry and they just somehow feel empty. And that doesn't that doesn't require judgment. I'm not trying to be judgmental. This is real. Like, this is a real thing. There are people walking around carrying hundreds, yes, hundreds of extra pounds on their body, and yet they still feel hungry. They really do. And so it makes me curious. I always want to say something that I hope will set the tone for the environment in this channel is meant to be encouraging. So, this is not about weight loss or weight control. So don't look at it that way. I I'm not here to count pounds, whether it's to lose or to gain. There's people on both sides of the spectrum that need to lose and need to gain. And some of the healthiest people that I know are larger than society says that they should be. And some of the unhealthiest people I know are also incredibly thin. So being skinny and being healthy are not the same thing. We're not going to pretend that it is. One of the leanest cities in America is Boulder, Colorado, according to a video I just saw. Darn it. Now I can't remember his name. It's on YouTube. I'll try to find it so I can tell you guys. But he's doing a tour of like the fattest place, which was Little Rock, Arkansas, and then the skinniest place, and it was Boulder, Colorado. And it points to a lot of statistics that assume that thin equals healthy, but he really points out as he goes through this city, and as a lot of us know, that life is more complicated than just our weight and just how big or small that we are. Someone can be thin and struggling with osteoporosis, sorry, and hormone dysfunction and anxiety and just deficiencies and muscle loss or a relationship with food built entirely on fear. Like, these can all be a reality and they can be thin. And another person can be carrying extra weight while trying to rebuild their health just one choice at a time and are actually healthier than the thin person. Doing things like just cooking dinner at home, walking after meals, sleeping better, drinking more water, healing years of emotional pain, like giving that the attention that it needs, learning to trust your body. You know, let's look at those things and consider that those things are what are going to equal a healthy person, not just the number on the scale. Let's become interested in learning about what is actually making the difference. The more I've studied and the more I learned, one pattern kept appearing. Nearly every culture in history practiced fasting, not because it was trendy, not because someone sold a course, and not because they just thought it would be so fun to not eat. No, that's ridiculous. It's because it was woven into life. Harvest came and went, winters arrived, and travel interrupted meals. They didn't have a McDonald's on each corner while they were taking a road trip. Religious observances, also think about it. They created pauses and in most yeah, as I'm thinking about it, most religions, I can't really think of any religion that doesn't call for fasting. If there is one, you can correct me. I've just not known of any. Um, Families, they required fasting at the time. There were actual scenarios where people would choose to eat or not based on the number of people in their home and having to choose like what can we eat today versus what are we going to need in a week versus which child is going to be able to get the most or not so much. And I know that sounds kind of heartless, but we can read about it in the Bible of even the more treasured child being given the fattier piece of meat. And, it's a real thing. There were things that caused fasting all throughout history. But people understood something that feels almost foreign to us today, and that is that they could be hungry and still be okay. They could even not eat for a period of time and be all right. And I noticed something really beautiful. Throughout scriptures, fasting quietly appears in a good way over and over again. Moses fasted. David fasted. Esther, oh, she's one of my favorites. Guys, I'll even show you. I have this tattoo. This, oh, I don't even know how to get it on my camera. I'm all twisted. But this does represent the story of Esther. It's a myrtle tree. And I love the story of Esther. And she called the people that she was trying to help to fast, to help her in the mission that was ahead of her. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because I know I could. But I don't believe that these stories are primarily about food in the Bible. They're about dependence, humility, stillness, just clearing away distraction and making room to hear God more clearly. Creating space just where constant consumption is the norm. That doesn't mean that God loves people who fast more than people who don't. I'm not saying that. And it doesn't mean that fasting earns blessings either. It doesn't mean fasting can heal every disease. But I do think that it reminds us something profoundly human, that we are capable of waiting. We are capable of trusting our body to sustain life, even if we're not constantly giving it input. We're capable of discovering that not every craving needs an immediate response or an immediate answer. Over the years, I've learned something that I never expected when I was younger. But the greatest gift fasting gave to me was it wasn't ketones or autophagy or better metabolic flexibility. Those things are fascinating and they're interesting, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about them. But the greatest gift I received from fasting was peace. It slowed me down. It made simple food taste better. It does. When you have fasted, food tastes so much better. It can make it taste incredible. A baked potato with some butter becomes a feast if you've just done a 24-hour fast. Fresh peaches in July, oh my gosh, they can become unforgettable. And homemade bread can become something to savor instead of something to eat absent-mindedly and complain about the carbs and, oh, I shouldn't have. No. Fasting, it slows us down. It does invite hunger, but it also invites gratitude, which grows when abundance is interrupted by waiting. So maybe that's why I think so. I think that's why many of God's invitations involve slowing down. Think about it. We're called to be still, to wait upon the Lord, and remember the Sabbath, daily bread, one day at a time. Creation itself seems to whisper the same message. Rest is not weakness, rest is part of the design. Now, I also need to say something here to the person watching who might feel nervous about this topic. If you have an eating disorder, or if you're recovering from years of restriction, if you're underweight, or if you're pregnant, or if you're a growing child, if you're a teenager, that's a real thing. I know you want to be an adult, but you might still be a teenager. I don't think my channel really attracts teenagers, but if you happen to be watching, this series is not asking you to ignore your body's needs. Okay, pay attention. Who are you? What is your body? It's not mine. Sometimes healing requires more nourishment, not less. And sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is eat. If you struggle with not eating, this is not encouragement to keep not eating. Okay. The goal is never deprivation. The goal is restoration. So here's my invitation. For the next few weeks, let's become curious together. Let's explore anthropology and history and blue zones and scripture and metabolism and inflammation. We're going to look into the immune system and the gut microbiome and circadian rhythms. And let's ask whether one of the oldest rhythms in human history might have been trying to teach us something all along. We're going to be talking about fasting and how powerful and restorative and healing and good it can be. You know, if this conversation feels like just sitting around a kitchen table with a friend, that's exactly what I'm hoping for. You know, if you do want some printable notes, research summaries, and additional resources, I do have a website, youareworthithealth.com. The link is below because I know that some of us love to have something to look at and to read and to consult. And so I've just started a new website and it's in the building process, but it is up and it is available. So check it out. And if you'd like to know more about my journey, and what brought me here, my book, Finally Understand Multiple Sclerosis, is available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, or hardback. Um, it's less of a book just about MS than it is about a lot of the things that can contribute and affect the body, and then different answers for those questions. You know, so check it out if you're wanting to learn more. Most of all, I want you to keep coming back, keep watching, um, subscribe if you'd like to continue this journey with me, and share these conversations with someone you love. And keep asking questions because I have a feeling that some of the answers that we've been searching for aren't new at all. You know, they're ancient. They're woven into creation and they're reflected in scriptures, and they really are written into the remarkable design of the human body. And together, you and I, we're going to discover them. So keep coming back, keep watching. Sorry if this video felt all over the place. I know it's kind of sporadic, but it's because I'm trying to touch on something, and that is I want these videos to be helpful to you. I want them to be meaningful. I want to share my journey and what I've learned. And I need to know what you'd like to learn about. What is helpful? What isn't? And what questions do you have? Because I am a health coach and I am a nutritionist and I am here and I have this channel for you so that I can answer your questions and help you get healthier because you really are worth it. I believe that. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.